Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Dennis. This week's video is on the Cooler Master MA610P, and yes, I read it from the box because that is a mouthful. Now, beauty of this, it's RGB, which a lot of people like, and how well it works or doesn't work, well, we'll find out. So, I'm going to put this on a case that is pretty old, but my daughter's been using it. And just to make sure it stays cool, I'm going to use it on that. So we'll get into the box, we'll have a look at it, I'll tell you a little bit about it, and then we'll install it and see how well it works. Stay tuned. Oh, and while you're here, don't forget, hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit that bell for future notifications. Here we go. Hi everybody. So for this video, I have a sponsor. I have an affiliate link, if you will. Basically, they're a company called ProXPN. There'll be a link in the description. If you like it, stick with it. Premiums go as low as $6.25 a month, or you can go even higher, of course. Depends on your needs. If you have a premium account, then unlimited bandwidth, which is great, because some of them will restrict you to less than that. Basically what it does is it conceals your location, protects your identity and data. It's easy to set up an account. I did it in probably less than a minute for sure. It protects you on your devices, whether it be a mobile phone, your tablet, desktop PC if you still have one. I do. And it helps to keep prying eyes out of your business. It keeps the government out, keeps your ISPs out, and it helps to encrypt your data. And basically, it gives you back the freedom that you wanted in the first place, to go on the internet and do what you want without people watching what you're doing. Okay? This is the company to give a try to. Go in, check it out. Check out what I'm saying. You don't have to believe me. You can go in and check it out. Click that link in the video. I'll be on in the description. You can just click that, go in, you can read about it. See that what I'm saying is all on their website, which is basically me reading it from here, just to jog my memory. And if you like it, go with it. In today's day and age, with the way things work, you need to protect yourself. Companies aren't protecting us anymore. You don't want to go into your local store that has free Wi-Fi. Buddy beside you has got the skills. He's now hacking into your phone on the public Wi-Fi, because they can do that. And he accesses your data, all your personal information, banking information. We need to protect that. Governments aren't going to do it for us. We need to start stepping up and do it for ourselves. And thank you to everybody that decides to give it a try. It will help me out. And let's get on to our video. First, we're going to have a quick look at it. So you can see it's the MasterAir MA610P. And it has a dual master fan. So in other words, it's got two fans. And of course, the RGB means it lights up. And the nice thing is it has Aurora, which works with ASUS software. It has the ASRock RGB LED, so that works with the PolySync, I think it's called, for the ASRock motherboards. And it's got MSI, so Mystic Light, and I'm not sure what that one is, just as RGB. But basically, this is going to work with any motherboard that has its own different software. It's geared to work with all of those. So it should be pretty easy to take control of and get everything done. So we're going to have a quick look on the inside and see what we get in this. So when we start to take it out of the box, first thing we notice is we have a little box on top again. A box within a box, imagine that. And what's going to be in here is going to be all our fittings, all our different brackets, all that kind of good stuff. All right, so here's your cable. It's got a nice little splitter with it, which is kind of nice. And we'll go through and we'll figure out what all that is here in a minute. And of course, we got our little instruction manual. I'm guessing that's what that is. The little, what do they call that? Silicate. And the YouTuber I watch always puts it in his mouth, says, don't eat it. So don't eat it. It's not good for you. And of course, warranty information. So moving on. So when you take it out of the box, one of the nice things is when you take it out of the box, you get this little cube. So it's all encased in this styrofoam to keep it, well, to keep it safe from any damage and stuff. Okay, so we're just going to get this off. So it just pulls apart. So we're just going to put it like that. And then we get our good look. There's our fan, yay, which of course lights up. And we're going to pop that puppy out. All right, so there's a look at it. Now on this one, there is no pre-applied thermal paste. So just keep that in mind. You've got your 6 heat pipes. And like I said, you got 2 fans, one here, one on the other side. And you got your cooler Masto decal on the top. And it's a bit of a weight to it. Okay, so right now we're just having a look at all the parts. And this one here is kind of cool. So what they've done to make things easier is they've actually printed on here. One side, you use it for AMD, and the other side is for Intel. And they tell you what it is, and they've got different holes for the different CPU sockets. And we'll explain that here in just a minute so you know which one is which. Now they've also tucked away the cables underneath in here. So it's kind of all tucked away. Quite a mess actually. So you got to get that all out of here. And I'll do that after. But you can see you've got your fans and all your connectors that are going to have to be done. And this is the one for the RGB is right here. Okay, you can always tell those because they don't look like anything else. And you've got your 12 volt. Okay, that's what that arrow represents. You can see that. And so that's how you know which way to put it on the motherboard. And it has a 4-pin. Yep, 4-pin for the fan. So imagine they're both the same. Yep. And of course, that's why they've included this, is because you probably plug both of those fans in here, and then you only have to occupy one fan header on your motherboard, which is kind of cool. Now, for some reason, those cables are in there and you can't get them out. Don't worry about it. One of the things they do show you in the manual for how to install it is that these separate. So you just pick them off and they're both going to come off. All right. So they're going to come off anyway. Not to worry. And then you can just unhook them and go from there. And we'll do that here in just a second. So the reason it tells you to separate those is it wants you to, just to make it easier to handle, and it tells you to pull these two parts, to pull these two apart. Okay, so you can see that. And you're just going to pull them right out. Okay, simple as that. And then that'll allow you to free up all these cables, and then you can actually work with the cooler until your time to put the fans back on. So there's a twist tie on here. So we're just going to take that off. And that's going to free up all your cables. And you can just free them all up, take them all out of there. Now, you'll also have to make sure to disconnect the one on the other side. So there's two different ones. So disconnect that as well. You just pull them apart. All right, so getting all this loosened off here. There. So now basically we've got this fan here, and we'll set that aside. You got your other fan. And now you can work, now that you get them both apart, you can work with the actual CPU. Cooler, I mean. So the cooler itself, it's a good size. It's a pretty hefty weight. It's pretty tall, so make sure your case can accommodate it. And of course, this one is for your RGB, like I said before. So that doesn't come out. It's wired in through here. You can see those cables. So those two and the one on the other side, they don't come out. Like I say, it's just to make it easier for you to work with. Okay, so one of the things that comes in with your case, or your cooler, I should say, is you got a little package which has your connector that's going to go on. You got your connector for your Molex. So if you got an older computer, that'll work fine. And you also need this. So that little piece here is going to go in here. All right. Now what this is for is to allow you to manually change it. So if you have a motherboard that doesn't support RGB, not an issue. It also comes with this little piece here. So it goes in here and you just have to line it up. I'm going to show you. And once you got it in the right place, it just pushes in. All right. Once that pushes in, then you're going to be able to connect this. And on the other end, you're going to connect this here to power. Okay, so that's just going to go in there. So when you connect them, there's a little divot on this side. So it's kind of hard to show you that, but on this here, you'll see the same little opening. So just make sure you get them lined up and you're just going to push it in. Now, what this has done is this allows you to connect and use the RGB cooler without having the motherboard, because if you don't have a current motherboard, it's not going to work. So that alleviates that issue. So then you just gotta have to find your connector for RGB, and then you're just going to plug the two of them together. Now I'm not going to do that right now because it's kind of tight and not exactly the easiest to take apart afterward. So it doesn't matter which way it goes in. There is no indication that it matters. It's just the way it's designed. So when you put it in there to the little holes, then you're going to have the ability to switch this on here. So you can see your different symbols. So you're going to have your mode, your speed, and your different colors. All right. So just to let you know that if you don't have a modern motherboard and you're wondering, will it work with my motherboard? Can I do it? Yes, you can. It will still work. Now I'm going to be putting this on a motherboard that does not have RGB. So I'm going to show you that it will work on that system by doing it that way. So just so you know. So something else that you do get that is a little bit confusing when you first look at it, and a lot of these coolers can be quite overwhelming when you first look at all the pieces and you don't know what they're for, where they go, or what they represent or anything like that. But you got to remember, this is designed for every motherboard all the way back to, I think, the 775. And I'll tell you all those details a little bit later on. What's important is to remember you've got your bracket. Like I say, Intel, AMD. So if you're installing AMD, you're going to need some of these brackets depending on the motherboard you're going to put it on. Okay, so when you go to put these on, this one goes on here. Okay, so this piece goes on here. And when you look at it, you can see there's little notches. All right, so those notches, you push it in until you get the desired setting for what you're going to be using it with. Okay, so just to explain the AMD one there just a little more. So you got this little piece here. Okay. It's called, I think it's E or whatever like that. So what happens is you have to take that and just drop it into here. Okay. And then it's going to slide back and forth. So what that's intended to be is on the left hand side, it's going to be your AM4. And if you move it over the other side, it's your AM3. Okay. So just to clarify that a little bit more. And then you're going to put that clip on here. And once you get that on, it's going to hold it in place. It'll sorry, I'll get the wrong one here. Need the wider one. I got to get the right clip. So once that clicks in place, that's going to hold it wherever you put it and allow you to have that going through the back of the motherboard so that when this is coming through, all right, it's going to hold it in place and you have something to screw into. Okay, so I just to point that out, I'm trying to cover both AMD and Intel because I know a lot of places people don't do that, but I'm trying. So hope you don't mind that I'm babbling a little bit. That's basically the way it goes. And I've got this one on right here, and it just goes off and pops back on. All right, so don't forget, it goes on here. Left hand side is AM4, right hand side is AM3, and of course the other ones are your AM2, FM2, FM1. All right, just so you know. And of course, we're not working with that. We're working with Intel. And then you have to figure the whole thing out again. Now, something I didn't mention that I just will, but it also came with their own Cooler Master thermal paste, just so you know, so you don't have to worry about buying that. It comes with it, so, and you will need to apply that to your CPU, and again, I will show you. Now, the other thing that's sometimes difficult to know which one is which bracket is Intel and which one is AMD. Well, rule of thumb is AMD is usually square, so thereby they keep the parts straight. So these pieces here are for your AMD. So again, separate those, put your parts with them. There you got your parts for your AMD install, and these are your brackets for your Intel install. And I'm assuming we're going to use most of these. These usually set 4 corners on the motherboard. Okay, like so. Thumb screws are going to go on top and go into those. So you got 4 of those. And, oh, did I miss the wrong one? Oh, no, that's just to tighten it. It's kind of like a standoff that you put in your motherboard. And this is just the thing that you can tighten the standoffs with. So in this case, it tightens it to your board. And that's what it's for. So that is not going to stay there. It's going to be separated afterward. And then you get these 2 little screws. Now, all those 2 little screws are to mount these, because you got 2 little holes. Okay, so you need 2 little screws. And that's going to go on to your bracket on your cooler. Okay, so you've got a hole here, another one on this side. So when you put it on, now you have to find out, do I put it this way or do I put it that way? Which way does it go? Well, I'll let you know. So the simple answer is it goes like this. All right. Does it go on top? No, it doesn't. You have to put it underneath. Okay, and then you're going to line that up and you screw it on, and then you're going to be good to go. You're going to have your brackets on. You're going to apply your thermal paste, and we're going to put it on. So let's get ahead and do that. Okay, so all I do is I put this on here, put the screw in, and now you're just going to tighten that down. Okay, once it's nice and snug, then you're just going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So get your little screw. Ready to go. And just put it underneath there, make sure it's not in the way of the fan. That plastic is in the way just a little bit, but that's okay. And just snug it down. You'll be able to feel that actually going through on the other side, so that's how you know that it's in place. Okay, so just to correct something, if you're doing an Intel install, you do need these little pieces here. Okay, I made a mistake on that. You're going to put them in here. Okay, and then this little clip is going to fit into this slot. So we're going to push it in like this, and then you're going to position it according to the CPU you're going to use. Okay, so that way you're going to have this, 4 of them. Okay, and that's going to go in the back of your motherboard, like on the back side. So when you put your cooler on, it's got that to fasten onto. All right, and I'll let you know exactly which setting it needs to go into. Okay, so just to demonstrate, you can see it's got the little notches here. Okay, so that shows you which one is LGA 1366, 1151, or that kind of socket, and the LGA 775, which I don't think I've ever actually seen. So it shows it bigger over here. Okay, the different settings and where they have to go. Okay, all the way up to the 2011. All right, 1366. So that just shows you how when you put it on. Okay, so you've got this here. And you've got your little, see your little lines here? So you can slide it forward, back. So depending on what motherboard you're using, you have to adjust that. All right, so sorry about the confusion there a little bit earlier on. But Every one of these is a new one for me, and I'm kind of guiding you through my process as I go along, and you can learn from my mistakes, I guess you'd say. So anyhow, the gist of it, that's going to be coming in from the back. So the way you're going to know, of course, this says Intel, so that when you look at it from the back, you're going to be able to see Intel. If it was AMD, you'd turn it around, do it the other way. So anyhow, you need this, you need these, and of course to tighten it, and of course your thermal grease to go on your CPU. So the next step in this process now is to get the case, determine what kind of motherboard is actually in it, because the reason I haven't said it is I'm not 100% sure what motherboard it is. I know it's older, I don't know how old it is, but they want a cooler in it, so we're going to put it in. Now in this case, it's my daughter's system, so I'm just going to put it in for her because I told her that's what I was going to do. And I don't remember how old the motherboard was. So stay tuned and we will do that next. Okay, so I've got the cooler that was on, like the stock cooler that was on the CPU. This motherboard is a 2011 socket. So in this particular case, you don't need to use the back plate because, so it's got those 4 connectors on the corners that it's just going to screw into. So that makes this installation quite a bit easier. Unfortunately, it doesn't let me show you the back plate, which I hadn't really anticipated. But all you got to remember is when you're looking at your back plate, make sure you got these tabs in. All right. Make sure you got your little connector in here. Look it up on your sheet to see what tab you have to have it into. And it comes with your little instruction manual. And it's different for each one, so you have to look at it anyway. And you put it through the back on the other side of where this motherboard would be here. So on the back side. And then you're just going to fasten the cooler on top of that. So before you put any cooler on, and I don't know if you can notice, see that round circle? That's a thermal paste. Now I didn't apply that. It was done there from before, and I just put it into an old system for her and gave it to her. I didn't really pay as much attention as I could. But that certainly did not spread very well. The new one will, and we'll have a much better thermal signature when we're all done. So all you have to do is just wipe it off. Just get some paper towel or whatever, a rag, whatever. And you're going to see it's going to come off pretty good. Don't get this on your fingers because it kind of will stay there for a while. So you have to make sure you wipe that all off. Now when you're done, you also want to make sure, get yourself some rubbing alcohol compound. Mine is 95% ethanol. And clean off the top of your CPU before applying your new thermal paste and then putting the cooler on. I want to apologize again for not being able to show this to you in this case. But basically, you see how these are sticking out? All right, on the corners. That is basically the way this socket was made when they made it, which I think is an amazing design. So where you normally have the things sticking up and you're going to screw in, you've already got the 4 points that you're just going to line up your cooler, put it in, and then just screw it down. That makes life so much easier. So again, just put a little bit on here and just go all over it. Make sure you get that all cleaned off. So for the 2011 socket, all you do is push this down and you pull it all the way to the end here on the right hand side. So all you do to move it is push it down, okay, and then it just will readjust itself. So I've moved them already over to the corners. Don't forget to take this off, okay, before you put that down, because otherwise you're going to have thermal issues. So the next thing we're going to do is put our thermal paste on. And that's plenty. And that should be more than enough. Okay, so we're going to peel this off. A little tab here if I can get my hands on it. All right. Now we're going to fit this. Okay, because this one is slightly different from a lot of modern motherboards. It actually would have been much easier for me if I had done that. When you put this CPU cooler on, you're not going to have the clearance, or sorry, you're going to have too much clearance. You're going to have too much distance between the post here and them connecting. So these little pieces here you're going to use. You will not be using on a 2011 this piece. All right, so just keep that in mind. And then all you're going to do is take this piece here, screw it in like I've done on the other corner. Okay, and you'll do that for all four corners. And then just take your little tightening tool, put it over top of it, and then take your screwdriver and just tighten it down. You won't have to tighten it much, just to make sure it's in there snug. Okay. So we're going to do that for all four corners. And then when I go to put the cooler in, it'll fit. So, yeah. There, so now when I put the cooler in, it actually meets up. Now I can actually fasten it down. Just tighten them just a little bit. Otherwise you're going to get too much tension on one side, not the other, and then you're going to have a hard time pushing it down. Okay, so at this point, we're going to hook up all our cables, and then we're going to have a look and see what it looks like. Again, remember this motherboard doesn't have the RGB, so we're going to hook up, which is kind of the reason why I chose this case, because I wanted to show you hooking up to the Molex, which my more modern cases don't always have. So either way, I was going to run into a problem, and I wanted to make sure I kind of covered that, because if you got an older motherboard and you want to buy this still to kind of give you better cooling and look better, well, how can I show you the Molex if it's not there? Don't forget, you have to connect this with the two little ones on each side. Otherwise, you're not going to get your power for your fans. The easiest way first is just to connect your two fans here, your two connectors for your fan. So connect those together first. Once those are together, you can put the fan on. Okay. So just make sure that they're connected properly. Once your fan is on, then you're going to have your cable left over. Okay, but don't worry about that, because what's going to happen with that is, remember our splitter? So you're going to connect it on here. Make sure you look for that little tab here, indentation, and you're just going to slide that in. Okay, and then once we have the other fan on, we'll do the exact same thing. So again, make sure you connect the second little fan connector down here. All right, and then pop that one back on as well. Make sure you keep the one that's going to go on your splitter, keep it out of the way. Okay, the easiest way I found is just to put it on in here. Now remember, these kind of go on this side, kind of like the same as a wire one would. So put it on there like that, and then you can just stretch it around. It's a little tricky, but it will go. Just like that. And you'll hear it click in place. And once it clicks in place, you know you're good. Okay, so I'm not really tidying up the cables right now. I'll do all that afterward. So don't forget, take your second one, plug it in here as well. Okay. Once you get those lined up, you can see it there. And you just got to push. And now this one here is just going to plug in where it says CPU fan on your motherboard. Now, if you wanted to stop right there, you don't care about the RGB, you're done. Power it on, everything should be good to go. The other steps we're going to be taking next is for the RGB. So keep that in mind, that if you don't care about the RGB, and some people just don't like it, you can stop right here by plugging this in, Okay, we're going to plug it in over here. And that's going to be the end of the actual getting the CPU cooler on and working. Okay, so the only cable you've got left is your RGB. Okay, if you have a modern motherboard, you simply find where it's at on your motherboard and you plug it in. But we don't have such a thing. So in this particular case, I've already showed you how this goes together. You're just going to pop it in here. Okay, it's going to go on. And then all you need now is to power this with the Molex. So you just have to find the Molex, which is I've got right down here. Plug those in, and that will give you your power. And then you can make your settings on here to what color you want. And away you go. So our Molex is plugged in. It will only go one way. Don't have to worry about this. This is just giving you an extra one. I'm not sure why it's even there. Okay. And now we're going to turn it on. We're going to use our thing here. Set the color we want. And then we'll find a place to tuck it out of the way. Because otherwise it would be kind of disastrous. Okay, so now it's on. And we're going to use our little controls to change the colors a little bit. Now the color scheme on this was always green. In this case, it's blue. So let's change that color. So we're going to use our little thing here. Okay, so you can see it. And let's see, which one is the color? Let's see. All right, so the middle one is your color. And now we have a completely green color scheme. So if you want to change the color scheme of your case, you can do that. All right, there's all the different colors. Now, believe it or not, that is a little bit loud. Now, let's see if I can change the speed at all. Okay, so that I guess changes the mode and more closely matches the one that's there, actually. And that's back to normal. And then the other one here, I think just turns it off. But let's find out. Oh, no, that changes. Okay, so that's breathing. I guess that's random. Blinking. So the one on the end here, one on the far end, looks like a circle. That changes all your different modes. So apologize if it's a little shaky. I just want to give you a better look on both sides. Now I don't know what the decibel level of that is, but it's pretty loud. Okay, so I was just listening a little bit. Believe it or not, that is the case fans that originally came in this case. And they're quite a bit louder than what I had realized they were. So maybe I'll switch those out later on. And that'll make it a lot quieter. And I mean, the fan in the back is not RGB. And it's noticeably louder. Oh, it's not that one. Okay, so that's the one that's the noisy one, so the one that's on the top. And surprisingly, that's a new one that I got, but it's still a little bit loud. But anyway, it's not terribly loud, but the cooler itself is extremely quiet. And I didn't point this out, but on the top here, this also changes color. So you got your color on both sides, and the logo lights up as well. So I got a bunch of cables I got to clean up, tie up, and try to make sure they don't wind up getting inside the fan somehow. So before signing off, one thing I want to mention is some of the specs for this. So the CPU sockets will work all the way back to the 775, 1150, 1151, 55, 56, 1366 to 2011, which we just did, 2011 V3, and the 2066. It works for the AMD sockets from FM1, FM2, FM2 Plus, AM2, AM2 plus, AM3, AM3 plus, and of course AM4. Dimensions, so you know if this will fit in your case, going by length, width, and height, are 130.9 by 112.8 by 166.5 millimeters, or 5.2 inches by 4.5 inches by 6.6 inches. So if it fit in the case, there's a bit of clearance left, thank goodness, or this would have been a disaster. Who knows? It has, as I mentioned in the video, 6 heat pipes, aluminum fans, and CDC 2.0. The weight of the heatsink is 616 grams or 1.35 pounds. Heat pipe dimensions are 6 millimeters. The fan, of course, is a 120 by 120 by 25 millimeter. Fan speed goes from 600 to 1800 RPM. Airflow is 53.38 CFM, plus or minus 10%. And the fan air pressure is 1.65 millimeters H2O, plus or minus 10%. Should last 160,000 hours. Has the 4-pin connectors. The noise level is 31 decibels at the max volume, which is actually lower than some of the case fans, believe it or not. The fan rated voltage, I can get that out of my mouth here, is 12 volts DC. The fan rated current is 0.30 amps. Fan safety current is 0.37 amps. And fan power consumption is 3.6 watts. And it's warranted for 2 years. So I just wanted to give you that information and just let you know, so in case you're wondering if it's going to fit in your system or not. And of course, mentioning the wired RGB LED connector that will allow you to customize your colors for the fans and the top cover, and with just a touch of a button like I just showed you. So what would a review be on a cooler if I didn't at least show you some of the temperatures that it's now running at? So right now our CPU is running at 753 RPM. And it can get to a max of 781 and a minimum of 727. Right now we're running our temperatures are running under about 46, 47 degrees, fluctuating a little bit, but pretty much staying right around there. You can see that right here. Okay. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of the temperatures. That's actually pretty good in my books. I know for a fact it's a whole lot better than what it was, especially since the thermal paste wasn't properly applied from before. Alright everybody, so that's the end of the video. If you like it, hit that like. Think about subscribing. And hit that bell for future notifications of videos that I do from this point on. And thank you very much if you made it this far for watching. Have a great day.